welcome to Imperial Advisor 18, Christmas edition, last edition of 2017. What quite an exciting year it's been for L5R. So we've got full house as usual. Eoin, Justin, Andy and Baz. Hey guys.
Hello.
Hello all.
We've got, on the show today, we're going to look at the Phoenix announcement of the Phoenix Clan pack. We're going to review the final pack of the Imperial cycle, Meditations on the Ephemeral, and then we're just going to do a little reflection on the Imperial cycle as a whole, who were the sort of winners and losers, clan-wise, what we think will be the sort of everlasting memory of the Imperial cycle. But before that, how are you guys? How have your games been going? What have you been playing deck-wise? What's been going on? So, Eoin, do you want to sort of start?
Yeah, I was at a Way of the Rings tournament on last weekend, prior to the release of Pack 6, so it was just a Pack 5 environment. Basically was playing the deck, seems grand. Unicorn Splash, using a couple of the new concepts that I was talking about in my article on Introduction to Crab as Dynasty, and it seemed to work fairly well in terms of building creeping out and slowly expanding a board. So I'm very excited to try out some of the contents of Pack 6, because I think Pack 6 is one of the biggest changes for Crab. Pack 5 is huge because Crisis Breaker comes in, but Pack 6 is probably even more significant.
Cool. Justin, how about you? What have you been up to L5R-wise?
Playing Phoenix. Moved into Lion Splash and just playing the most aggressive version of Phoenix I can muster, and it's been crushing everything. I think the only game the deck has lost over the last kind of couple of weeks has been the mirror match. So it's been doing really, really well. I mean, it does have, that said, it's a very all-in strategy. So if it falls behind early, it's got almost no way back into the game. But so far, it's just been applying so much pressure that most decks don't really seem to have much of an answer to it. So that's been kind of interesting. We'll see now that all 6 packs are here, though. We'll see other decks, I'm sure, are going to have answers. So we'll be seeing. I'll be working on it myself.
Sounds like my kind of deck.
It does. I thought. I was thinking, what would Andy build? Andy would build. Andy would put every single force boost he could possibly find into a single deck and just see how that worked.
How could it not work?
It turns out it worked quite well. So it's been a really interesting week in terms of Phoenix, who were a super defensive clan and now are an offensive powerhouse. So
interesting. Baz, how's it been for you? Oh, I think you're muted.
Good, Baz.
Sorry, my bad. Like Owen, I had a couple of Way of the Ring events. I brought out Dragon Splashing Unicorn for one and did really well. And then one afterwards, I brought out the more classic Crab Splash and did less well. So I need a little bit more work on that. I think I need to work on how I'm bidding. The extra card draw is tricky. I'm just today out of a game against Crab where those new Pack 6 additions really, really were horrible to play against. So that was kind of grim. Mostly for the last week, it's been tidying up those last few articles. So we're running through the reviews of the packs. And they're going all the way through till Christmas Day. And on Christmas Day, there'll be the full explanation of the detailed meta environment explaining what's going to win every tournament. It will be 100% accurate, guaranteed. So feel free after we start getting the tournaments in to post on that page to tell me how right I was.
Yep. What else could you want for Christmas, really, other than
it's true.
The keys to unlock the meta? And Andy, what have you been up to L5R-wise?
Mostly been playing Lion, trying to crack something with Lion. I've been experimenting a little bit with Lion Honor, just trying to bring in those those nice pieces from pack 5, I think it was, just to try and get something in there that it seems a bit too situational. It seems a bit not as consistent as I wanted it to be. So I'm kind of shelving the whole honor thing for a little while. Mostly though, I mean, mid-range Lion military seems like a good deal, and the new additions have been absolutely stellar. I think that the 2-drop that gets the +5 military in conflicts has been really, really, really solid. Really, really good card. So yeah, I'm happy that Lion are where they are right now, trying to play it as consistently as possible and trying to see the main problem I'm having right now is how much cancel do I put in my deck? How reliable is it, and how much do I want to put in there? Because I've been having trouble with both Censure and Ready for Battle. I haven't actually been playing the one for honored characters for a little while, so I'm not even sure if I should be chopping and changing what I should be playing in terms of my cancel package, basically.
Right, interesting. So I think kind of probably the biggest sort of news from the last in the last week has been the announcement of the Phoenix Clan Pack. So obviously we're not going to go in and sort of go card by card of get it up here of what was in there, but maybe let's just talk about sort of the this idea of this sort of format, because it's maybe a little bit different to what we were expecting based on previous LCGs and the sort of the deluxe expansion. Oh, and do you want to sort of kick off that? Just maybe sort of summarize what it is and give your thoughts.
So, from what we can hear about the Clan Pack is a sort of analogous to a smaller deluxe release from one of their other LCGs. It is a pack of new Phoenix Stronghold, new Phoenix Roll, and new Phoenix Province, it looks like, and then a bunch of Phoenix cards and a small number of clan cards and an unknown number of neutral cards. What it is going to do is it's going to look, here's a bunch of new options for the Phoenix. Here's another Stronghold. Here's, you know, a bunch of new cards you can use, probably for a different sort of deck. Probably. Because the new Phoenix Stronghold is all about manipulating spells rather than manipulating glory. So very different animal. Interesting idea. They haven't indicated yet whether this is going to be now, the next cycle is going to be clan packs, or if the next cycle is going to be one clan pack and then we're back to a regular cycle again, and you'll get your next clan pack after the next cycle. So there's some stuff we know about this, and there is some stuff we do not know. I think it looks interesting. I'm not a big fan of the model, but it looks interesting, certainly.
And so what don't you like about the model there? Just to elaborate on that.
So let's say it is, if it's a cycle now of clan packs, that's grand, that's perfect. Like, let's everyone, over the next couple of months, everyone gets their clan pack. Cool. If on the other hand, we'll do the Phoenix clan pack now. We'll do another 6 packs of a cycle at whatever rate we choose. It's probably not going to be 6 packs in 6 weeks again. It's probably going to be a slightly more leisurely expansion. And then we do another one. You could be looking at, unless it accelerates a little bit, it could be 2 to 3 years before some clans get their clan pack. And the way L5R is, with clan loyalty being a big deal for a lot of players, not all the players, but for a lot of players, people will be cheesed off if their clan is last.
Yeah,
I can't see that being their model here. I from a design standpoint, I just don't think that makes much sense. I think the first model that you mentioned was far more likely that they're going to release. I think they want to be releasing a steady but small amount of new cards into the environment fairly regularly, and having this disparity in the number of cards that an individual clan has over the course of a year, 2 years, 3 years. That seems really not a well-designed product as opposed to a well-designed game. I mean, the game is very, very well designed. I just don't think that's a good release strategy for them. I don't see how that would be beneficial at all. But maybe that is the thing. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's how it'll pan out.
It's certainly analogous to how they've done it in the past. That's why I was looking at, like, Game of Thrones is 2 or 3 years into its run. Some factions still haven't got their deluxe. They're waiting.
I can only, like, for me as a designer as well, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, what I'm probably going to have is I'm going to have all the clan packs pre-designed. They're all designed already. All the cards already exist in PDF somewhere. It's just a matter of when you print them, how they get printed, and the ones I would actually print first are the clans that are lowest on the tier, on the power tiers that come out of the tournament structure that they've already set up. So the Grand Kotais, whatever, they would be the ones. Like Unicorn would have been the first pack that I would have targeted straight out of the gates, because Unicorn are at the lowest power level. They need a power injection. Phoenix don't need a power injection. Lion don't need a power injection. Like, how are they actually planning which clans are coming next as well?
Although, to give them some benefit of the doubt on that, it did kind of look like Phoenix were lagging a little bit behind before we hit the Imperial cycle. Imperial cycle has given us a lot of really nice things, and you'd like to hope that Unicorn being so underpowered was accidental, that something went wrong rather than it being intentional and planned. So with that in mind, Phoenix coming out first does sound like they were planning what you're talking about, Andy, but just didn't quite get there.
Yeah. I have to say, having seen all the Unicorn cards now, what it looks like is that there was a significant change in design direction with Unicorn late in the process.
Yeah.
All their cards seem to be designed to do something else really, really well. I mean, their cards are actually pretty consistent. The unfortunate thing is that, whatever that thing that they were super, super good at was probably just way too good. There was a late change in direction, just too late to retweak and redesign a whole bunch of cards. And so Unicorn got pushed out, probably due to time constraints, and ended up being much, much weaker. And I can just say, and Phoenix, certainly after Phoenix lost Secret of the Void, we did see, for the few weeks before the pack started to come out, they were abysmal, absolutely abysmal. Every bit as bad as Unicorn, arguably. But that is no longer the case. So, I hope we see Unicorn getting a boost soon. I mean, they're starting to, and they're starting to come together. Like, I really think Unicorn just need a couple of more good high range characters in the four cost bracket. Maybe another good 5-coster. They've got abundant low cost characters. They've got some great mid range characters, and maybe a few more proactive actions. And I think Unicorn will be an absolute force. They're already showing signs of it in the local tournaments and stuff like that. The local games we're playing. Unicorn they're not as much of a joke as they were. So hopefully this is an indication that they're getting there.
That's cool.
And so, as I won't go card by card, but maybe there's a couple of sort of interesting bits that we've seen. I think a lot of this came from the Spanish FFG side, as I understand. So one was the a roll
Those
card.
Spanish players are being spoiled.
Yeah, in compensation for their Kotai turnout. So there's a roll card which is neither a seeker nor keeper, but gives you 8 extra influence, but you have to splash the Phoenix clan. Baz, have you any sort of early thoughts on how good this is, or how tempting someone would be to pick this as your role?
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting one. I mean, you're losing out on keeper and seeker, but you're getting a lot more. It's probably more of an impact with keeper, because keeper, there's a little bit more of an incentive because you're getting more influence with keeper. But if you go down this role, you're getting even more influence. So I'm a little surprised by it. I have to admit. To be honest, I think at the end of the day, you're going to build your deck, and then you're going to see where you are, and then your role is just going to kind of, assuming the clan roles are something that you can just add on, and there's not a massive multi-layered structural thing every world where people have to decide which clans and which elements and which God knows what else they have to pick. But we're expecting that these clan role options are essentially a nice little incentive for other factions. So when that Phoenix pack comes out, while Justin will be delighted to get all those Phoenix cards, I'll be spending the $30, $20. I'm not quite sure where it's going to sit yet. For essentially one dragon card. but I'll also get that one roll card that will let me play more of those Phoenix cards, which I guess is something. Yeah, I'm a little surprised by it, I have to admit. It kind of feels like it takes away from the role choices slightly, especially so for clans who have Keeper, because I think if you've got Seeker, you've got the extra incentive of the provinces. You miss out on a couple of Keeper cards, but you'll hopefully get the compensation of the extra splash if you want to go that direction. If you pick one of the clan roles, no, I guess it's good. I mean, it's definitely another incentive to buy more packs, so that's always a good thing.
Andy, is a dedicated clan pack a must-buy for all players, do you think? Based on what
Absolutely not, is what I would say. I mean, going back in the days when, for the old CCG players, I don't think any of us would balk at the idea of buying this just to have the 1 or 2 cards, like Baz is saying, that are going to be in the pack. For the LCG player, for the hardcore LCG player, you can get away with just buying your clan pack, I would say. And if someone else in your play group, if you have a play group, someone else buys their clan pack, you can sort of share among yourselves the 1 or 2 cards that are for your clan that are going to be in another clan's pack. So it's a very, like, in my opinion, it's a very, very friendly model. You can get almost all of the cards that you possibly need in just your clan pack. So in this course of, let's say they're going to release the next 6 clan packs over 6 months, you're going to get like 1 investment over the next 6 months. Maybe your friend is going to get 1 investment over the next 6 months. You don't have to buy them all. I'll buy them all, but that's just because.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just because I'm used to the old model where you had to pay, I don't know, an arm and a leg every 3-4 months for the boosters to get the entire play set of everything in the set. So, I mean, it's a pittance compared to what we used to have to pay. So I'm happy to pay it.
I will say that I think they had one, that it's a fantastic way to enter. So if 2 years down the line, you're a brand new player, you want to start playing Phoenix, you'll pick up your core sets, that'll get you off to a good kick, and then you'll buy this pack, and you should have the majority of serious cards, and then you can kind of build out of there. So from that perspective, these clan-based packs are a really good way to get players in and give them kind of a core aspect of the cards. I'm a little disappointed that they've got they seem to have 1 card for each of the clans. And that gives a little bit of an extra incentive to buy into it. But in reality, I think the majority of us were going to buy it anyway, just because you're going to be splashing in. You're probably going to buy all of them just so you have all the options. There are going to be some players that aren't going to buy it because they don't see it as a good investment. But I think putting 1 in sours it for some players who won't be happy that they feel like they're forced into buying it, if that makes sense. I would have preferred if they left that out, if they just went for a full pack that was focused on just the Phoenix, for example. Because I understand that there's kind of business considerations, and then with the releases, you want to make sure everyone gets something. So, a month, if it's a monthly release where you don't get anything, it's kind of poor. Even getting 1 card is better than that. But I think if they bit the bullet and they just had a full Phoenix pack, the people who were going to buy it were going to buy it, and then there would be no opportunity for people to complain that they were being forced to buy just 1 card.
Just to chime in one last time on this one, the thing that was a pinch point in old L5R as well, and I think is going to be a pinch point here too, is if there are good neutral cards in all of these packs, it's going to sort of demand tournament players to buy all of them, because neutral cards were always the holdings, the provinces, any kind of action cards or conflict cards. Those cards are going to be the ones that if a powerful one comes out in this pack or the next pack, everyone is going to want to have it. So everyone is going to have to buy that pack. All tournament players, anyway.
Okay, and this kind of, I just may want to ask a little bit about the province. I think it's quite an interesting one. And maybe you could sort of chime in on this. So, as best I understand from the Spanish, you can't be on the Stronghold, and it's unique. It has 1 province strength, and you compare glory for the purposes of that conflicts at that province, rather than the military or political that you've declared. It's quite a sort of stark deviation design, I would say. What's your thoughts on how this will play, or if it's good or not?
I'm very interested to see what element it is. Put it like that. I think it could be air, or it might be water. But I think it's either one of those ones. Like if it's void, Phoenix are gonna go. Oh, but you know, we can't fit another void. Like that's another void province to pick from. Awesome. But if it's air or water, it's interesting because that becomes Phoenix tank province. So you'll go into that once, and then you'll be like, okay, I'm never going back there again. I think, well, most clans are going to be like, I'm never going back there again. I'm never winning that one again. Because Phoenix have high glory, and if they're playing their first box, and they're playing that guard, yeah, you ain't taking that. Sorry, you know? Interestingly as well, that's a province where pretty much your assignment and your send home and movement actions are the only things that can win it for you. You can't win that by raising your military. You can't win that by, you know, plunging your politics or dishonoring people doesn't do anything. Honoring people doesn't do anything. The Phoenix player can win that province on the defense with a lot of reliability if he wants to. He can just go, okay, you've got 3 glory going in. Grand. I defend with 5. Do you have send home action? No. Cool. Then I win. So it's an interesting province. It's a very interesting province that point of view. I think it's going to be a tank one. I think it's going to be one that basically you just go into once and go, okay, well, that sucked. Let's go find something else. And there is probably a scheme there. Like if you're playing Unicorn Splash with Phoenix and that's your air province and you're like, oh, you're trying to break that. I've got 2 provinces you really have to break, or 2 provinces, neither of which you can break, or you'll struggle to break. And I can just go, yeah, well, you know, we're going to keep going to this one with the talisman. And that will be very, very, very frustrating. Like if you got the talisman and you're like, okay, I've got this one left on my stronghold. And you go, whoop, talisman back to this one. Woo! Lots of luck, guys. Lots of luck. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one from that point of view. It'll be very interesting from that point of view.
Justin, any quick thoughts on the province?
Oh yeah, well, you know, as the resident voice of negativity, it's I feel duty bound to point out, like the only downside I can see is that it's a farmable province. That's really the only downside. It doesn't do anything nasty, but it just sits there. I mean, you're never taking this. You're never taking this from a Phoenix player if they want to defend it ever. Like their guys have higher internal. Yeah, they have higher basic glory. They've got the stronghold to pump. So the chances of taking it are incredibly low. Yeah, I mean, as Owen was saying, you need to be running send home actions, and send home actions in this game are not that great. So you're unlikely to start running send home actions because of this province. Yeah, the talisman interaction is horrifying because you're while this is on the board and unbroken, and there's a talisman on the board, you're probably not taking the Phoenix Stronghold either. Under any circumstances. So it's a really interesting. I mean, obviously it doesn't do anything nasty to your opponent, which is, I suppose, the main drawback actually. But it'll just sit there, not being taken for most of the game. And I could certainly see a province lineup featuring public forum, something else, which could give aggressive decks absolute fits because they're just sitting there, bouncing off public forums, wasting attacks every turn. They just cannot break your provinces. So it's a really interesting province. Really interesting province. And yeah, the element is going to be absolutely key as to whether this does break into, or this does make it into decks. So I'm looking forward to finding out what that is. Interesting province.
Okay, and then last one's maybe the Stronghold. Kudinasawa, +1 province strength, +1 strength stronghold, a library and a palace, 11 honor, 10 influence, 7 fate. Action: during a conflict by this stronghold, play a spell event from your conflict discard pile as if it were in your hand. Remove that event from the game. This feels like kind of an old school Phoenix sort of ability. Justin, what are your thoughts? Maybe start with you.
Yeah, I suppose it's got a whiff of the old Halls of the Shiva, Eternal Halls of the Shiva about this one. Recursion isn't that, as Jack is saying in chat. Recursion has never caused any problems ever, and I'm sure this won't either. It's the spells are tremendously there are a lot of very, very powerful spell events, and as time goes on there are just going to be more of them. It's odd. A few weeks ago I would have jumped on this stronghold and clutched it to my breast and hugged it and called it Stephen and never let it go. But at the moment at the moment, the current Phoenix stronghold has actually become incredibly powerful over the course of the Imperial cycle. Incredibly powerful. So I think this is going to generate a very, very different kind of deck. Like we've seen from a few of the previews for the Disciples of the Void already, that there are already quite a number of cards that push spell interactions. Like Shiba Tetsu is back, which is awesome because he was a great character from old 5R. And yes, I mean you can certainly see situations where you'll have a bunch of Shigenja on the board. You will play a Supernatural Storm for +4/+4, bow the Stronghold for another +4/+4, and you'll just have giant monsters running around the place. Arguably even doubling up on Against the Waves is an even more horrifying thought, to be honest. Once one of those is in your bin and you've got another one to play, so. Yeah, it's going to be a very, very different build from current Phoenix decks, but I do not doubt that it will be tremendously powerful. It encourages you to draw. It encourages you to draw a lot of cards and use a lot of cards, so that's going to be an interesting dynamic. It looks very, very strong. It looks very, very strong.
Anyone else want to chime in on Kutanasawa?
I'd love to. Because I think
I been underselling it, Anne? I've been underselling it.
No. I don't think you've been. Well, maybe slightly underselling it. But this is a nightmare. This is a nightmare to design around. It means that every spell that you possibly create from here on in until the end of the game, or until you cycle this card out of the environment, you have to think that this is coming back twice a turn, every turn that you play a new one. This is ridiculous. This is super, super powerful. This is like the more spells you put in the game, the more powerful this becomes, and this is already really, really powerful. I just don't think it's. I think it's a bad card to have in the environment as a designer.
All right.
Yep. We've got a point from Jack in chat saying, doesn't it also let you survive on fewer drawn cards? Yeah, I think it can. If the Phoenix Conflict deck hits a critical mass of good spells, if you're probably looking at somewhere in the region of 20 odd spells, I would say. And they have to be good playable spells that you would otherwise play, and obviously events as well. They have to be spell events. Then yes, definitely, it could allow you to survive on fewer drawn cards. But I don't know. I still think one of the powers of this stronghold is going to be having options and being able to one of the standard Phoenix approaches has always been toolboxing your approach to just whatever happens on the board. So having a range of cards to select from, having a range of spells to select from, means that your opponent then has to process so much more information, which in turn opens up opportunities for you to just play the optimal card. But it's a fair point. If there's a critical mass of good spell events, then yes, this could turn Phoenix into a low draw, or it could be a low draw stronghold that uses the stronghold then to make up for its low draw bids every single turn.
I mean, an interesting thing that the guys are coming up with in the chat here is that when does it actually enter play, and what's a card's memory when it leaves play, or if it has entered play and then left play into the discard pile. And I think this kind of really revolves around, there was a discussion on the Facebook recently about what game state, how FFG are defining the game state for L5R. And they gave this sort of little definition or little explanation that it's sort of like how, if this was a video game, the memory of a video game and the memory that that would be used, or the state of every card would have to be recorded somehow in the memory of the device that's running the game. Sort of like how Hearthstone works, basically. But there can be a little bit of a weird definition there in terms of the memory of a card once it's played, once it comes into play and out of play, how it actually works. How does this Stronghold actually work with cards that are put into play in the same turn? Are events even put into play? Are events from hand even put into play?
I think the rules specify that once a card leaves play, it loses its memory.
Yeah, but does it leave play if it's never in play?
Yeah.
I don't know. I suppose maybe. We'll find out.
A conclusive maybe.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? I mean, interesting point that this is pretty effective anti-cancel as well.
Look,
It will absolutely strain cancel.
Yeah. Recursion's never been a problem in any CCG ever. No card game has ever had to ban a card due to recursion, so I can't see it never going wrong.
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, they just need to give us extra card draw and Manix and Fate Acceleration. Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine.
And on a Stronghold, no less, on a card that never leaves play.
We want the 3 pillars of brokenness. Won't settle for anything less.
Okay, all right. So we will wait and see what the release schedule is for this and when this is out, and we will discuss in more detail in the future.
Jack, we have been hugely positive. So sorry, just responding to Jack in chat. We have been hugely positive about this card.
It's a great card. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm negative on in terms of how what critical, it introduces to the game.
Critical, Andy, not negative.
Fair, yeah. I said realism isn't negative, but this is just reality.
The only negative is we're gritting too hard. It's becoming painful.